Okay, this is the July 16th comprehensive plan meeting and 6:30. So let's first take roll call. It looks like everybody's here. Bilaski,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Palis,
Here, sorry.
Kalasowski,
Here.
Kosowski, sorry, Long,
Here.
Marzullo,
Here.
Pearl,
Here.
Para,
Yep.
Romanovsky.
Here.
Schuster.
Here.
And Sherpicki.
Here.
Okay, here, pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, minutes from June 18th. Any comments, additions, edits? If not, take a motion to approve.
Motion.
Moved by Sean,
Second.
seconded by
Long.
Long. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain. Yeah, I was gonna say, do we need abstentions from the people that were here? Does it not
who's
matter?
abstaining here?
Me.
And me.
Me, who's me? Let's see, Bilaski, Marzullo,
Schuster.
Schuster, and Long.
Right.
Long is, okay.
So-
Okay,
Procedural, does someone else have to second it?
no. That's just making a motion. Okay, so, we will just continue on with the objectives and actions and, two. We will pick up from where we left off, which was character goal, objective number 2. So hopefully, I know this is small, but you also have copy electronically. That was
Just hit the plus arrow. You can
Down
enlarge
the
it.
bottom right,
Corner.
bottom right. The slider.
You can just hit the plus and
Yeah.
just increment over.
Oh, yeah. It's not it. Well,
Nope.
it's a little too much.
There you go.
There, okay. All right. Objective 2, ensure future infrastructure improvements in around the town center, promote a unique brand and sense of place, gateways, signage, and intersection improvements. And that means integrate placemaking and branding as part of future streetscape improvements. And action 2 is create a defined signage template that creates a consistent image between public and private signage. So. Any thoughts?
In the objective, I would consider removing the word infrastructure.
Okay,
You're not listening.
any other thoughts?
One of your unique.
Did, between now and 2015, when this was approved, was there anything done that? Yeah, right. Any steps, anything that laid this out? And I guess,
I don't think so. I think, Mac could probably speak to this more than I can, but, I think that this comes back to there's been this kind of juggling of, how extensively do we want to enforce regulations against the businesses downtown? How much do we want to see a consistency in the look and feel of those buildings? Or do we want them to just kind of be what they are now, which is just an eclectic mixture of buildings? And I'd say that this objective leans more to some sort of consistency of view. But We haven't ever really settled on one or the other.
Well, we certainly have things in place in zoning for signage, but not necessarily what it looks like.
Correct. Nothing about integrating some sort of branding or, branding, I think of uniformity, some sort of marketing of the town center. And then same with a defined template. We don't really have.
Hudson.
any of that.
Right.
So what do we mean by integrate placemaking? I understand the branding, but what are we trying to say, integrate placemaking?
I think that means location.
Like where everyone has it in upper left corner of their first floor. I don't think that's what he means.
Does anybody have maybe some idea on where this was, the intent of this? Was it trying to make it like a Hudson?
I think it is. If you look at the
Mhm.
next objective, just moving down, it's again, establish a design review district. So all of this was moving towards some sort of consistency.
Mhm, mhm.
Was there from 2015 until now, the 5 years that I've lived here, I can't think of anything other than tearing down a building. Has anything been built that was guided by this in the last 10 years in town center?
So.
Right? So we don't even have a test case, right? To look back and say, when this was put in, and then we enacted that, and then this got built, and we use that to guide that. I think that's part of the problem, is we haven't put it into practice yet, right? If I understand correctly.
No.
Other than potential, I know that there was a sign change in town that was guided by this.
So just to be clear, nothing is guided by this. So
No, I know that. I'm.
Right, so
But I'm,
developers have come through, when you look at Gaffney's project, I forget the name of it now. Bluestone, thank you. Bluestone was this multi-building proposal that was right there.
yeah.
And so he got preliminary approval for everything, but none of that's guided by this. It's guided solely by our current resolution. So he doesn't have to come in and say, this is what I would want to see. None of this is discussed at the zoning commission because we're only looking at the zoning rules.
Okay.
And to what you were saying about, has anything been built? Yes. Plenty of things have been built in town center, in the last 10, 15 years, including we had one of the homes, right down the street. It first was gonna become a yoga studio, then it was gonna become this, that, and the other. And they transitioned from a home into a business, and they have to follow the zoning resolution.
When they're
not
making those
necessarily-
changes.
Exactly. Now,
Sure.
I think, to Sean's point, and some of the other conversations we've heard is, right, is the goal of the comprehensive plan to guide the zoning commission to cookie cutter business facades?
Mhm.
Or does the comprehensive plan support businesses creating their own identities in a specific area? So right now, what it seems to be talking about, especially if you look up at objective C1, it's talking about, all right, everything needs to be closer to the street. Now, obviously, I know I missed the previous meeting. One of the things that that causes concern for me on the changes that we have there is where it says enhanced pedestrian access, or pedestrian circulation. What I'm looking at with there is when we're talking about these things, we're not defining them. And so we're saying access, just the same way in the first meeting, we were talking about how Hinckley is such an accessible place. No, it really isn't.
Right.
It's convenient. There's a big difference between accessibility and convenience. Just the same way right now in the vernacular, everyone wants to talk about affordable housing. Affordable is a relative term. Accessible is a relative term. When we're talking about affordable to certain parts of Ohio, every single resident of Hinckley is rich. The majority of Hinckley residents would disagree with that. But when we're using these kind of just generalized terms, we have to be careful with that, because when we're saying enhanced pedestrian access, does that mean now we have to run sidewalks all the way down 303?
This is.
He's
only
talking about
center.
town center though.
And this
Hinkley
is
Town Center.
pedestrian circulation,
Okay.
and pedestrian circulation is what we use in our code for.
Yes,
sidewalks.
100%, and that's why it should say within the town center.
It does.
No, it's
Right at the
the
top,
first,
promote the Hinkley Town Center as historic, that's the objective, C1. And all those actions are within that objective of town center.
So as I look at this, I look at C1 2-2, and it says create defined signage template that creates a consistent image between public and private signage. So what they're looking for, I think, is a delineation, right, between the two. And in order to create that delineation, it would almost be up to the public entity to create a consistent signage. I don't know that we necessarily have enough buildings or anything that we have to mark, right? The Historical Society is not a public building, is it?
Sorry, I think between consistent
Owned by the
public
township.
and public and private signage, what they're really meaning there is, again, if you kind of think of Hudson, right? Their street signs have a certain look to them. Their business signs have a certain look.
Match that.
They're all very consistent to a certain theme
Sure.
Yes.
or period.
Sure.
And that's what they're meaning here, I think, by, and matching the public and pedestrian or public and private signage. That consistent feel so that you see it across a certain motif, that you know exactly what theme.
But that didn't make it into zoning
It's never
by
made
any
it.
means.
Correct.
so the first three objectives are about Hinkley Town Center. I would suggest removing the between public and private signage.
And just make it about town center.
Right, so it would say, create Hinkley Township signage template, which creates a consistent uniform image, and then I added some words, for Hinkley Town Center.
But again, do we even feel that we need to make downtown Hinkley
Cookie cutter.
correct? Do we all need to use the same font and the same signs
For-
between Foster's and Poppy Dudes?
I think for the public, or for the private businesses, they can use whatever fonts they want. Township should be using the same font. And I have a little criticism with the new sign out here that is in block letters,
If I,
as opposed to the serif letters everywhere else.
if I recall correctly, the township is actually exempt from zoning requirements.
Sure.
So we can make these rules for the township and they can say, no.
But this can also be used to guide township decision-making. And that's
Sure.
probably what this was trying to get at is, hey, the community wants to see this consistency. Yes, the township can do whatever they want as the elected officials. They're exempt from zoning, but they really should also keep in mind as they're making their decisions, what the goal of the comprehensive plan is, just like the zoning commission should.
And is the idea then to take this, if we didn't alter it, when we go out to survey the public,
Mhm.
do you agree with this? Yes, no,
What are your thoughts?
right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I think this whole section can almost be boiled down to almost, do you want to see some uniformity in the way buildings or signage
And-
appears within town center?
Right.
Yes or no, and then you know all of this.
And then
Dictate that.
just as a question maybe for zoning, let's just say everyone like, yep, let's do this. Is it something that's enforceable that a business, if they don't do
Once,
it?
once it becomes part of the zoning resolution, 100% it's
So
enforceable.
is it something that is grandfathered, so everyone now has to change their signage? Or only new
Only
businesses
new
that come
businesses.
in?
Or
would have to
substantial
follow this.
changes to the business.
Switching from the house to the yoga studio to the whatever, that would trigger that, right?
Not necessarily change of use, a change of actual site plan. So
Yes.
if Foster's was to do a major undertaking of renovation on their building, they kept the name, but it's a totally different building, that would trigger it.
Or I mean, it doesn't even have to be. So I guess it's semantic. It doesn't have to be a completely different building, but if they completely change the front facade, okay, now you gotta follow these.
Okay.
And truthfully, they're gonna have to come in for a site review if they're doing a major change anyways. And we would then say, okay, look, you're missing the mark here. You're not doing anything to the top patio. Okay, we can't force you to change that. We'd like you to, but we can't. But you're gonna change this whole bottom section. That has to meet the current res.
And further to that point, just so that you, there's also state statute allows us actually to create a whole architecture review committee. And so you could go as far as that and it's a totally separate committee from the commission, or it can be within the commission, but there's lots of options. if
So I
we
guess
want to
that was
bring
what I'm saying, like,
uniformity.
even if you said, okay, we are gonna go with this new standard, everyone has to use X, Y, Z. Really, I mean, it's going to take
Oh, it's 50 years.
to change.
Yeah, right.
So I guess,
And who decides what that design looks like?
The architect, either this commission or
Whoever
the
we would
architecture
deem.
review, whoever,
Yeah.
And
whoever the
in
commission,
charge.
zoning commission decides should do that.
one of the things worth considering, and we've talked quite a bit about an architectural review board is that, you know, it sounds like, okay, hey, that's probably might be the direction we want to go, but I think what a lot of folks forget is that there are specific requirements for that architectural review board, where you have to have an architect. And if we don't have an architect within the community that volunteers, now we have to hire someone to come into those meetings.
Right.
And
That's-
provide that input.
That's if we have an architecture review.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If we decided, hey, you know, that sounds like a great idea. And this is one of those things where when I was in the army, we had good idea fairies jump up and bite us on the butt all the time. And it created a whole lot of extra work. It didn't need to be done. I'm not opposed to change, but I think when we start looking at things as, hey, we should do this, we should do that, because it sounds like a good idea, we need to think through those second and third order considerations.
So design standards was something I think that was up with zoning like 2 years ago.
Mhm.
Is that right? And I think that was a struggle, just trying to get everybody to kind of agree.
We've 2 years ago, what we did is we moved the town center into a separate district to allow us, if there was ever a desire to move forward with some sort of design centers. We've never had a meaningful discussion on design standards because I think collectively just in general conversations, we haven't gotten to a place where we see some majority stand up and say, this is what I want. So all that we've done so far is put the town center as a separate district to enable us to do design standards that we couldn't do when town center was grouped in with Boston and West 130th corner.
And really the impetus behind a lot of those conversations was the Bluestone development, because it's such a
It's a transformative project.
it is, as far as actual square footage or acreage of town center, it's a significant portion. And then the question becomes, okay, well, should the rest of the town center, as it develops, be forced to basically conform to what this one development is considering?
Or, I mean, we even talked about that development has much more modern flair to it.
Mhm.
And do we want to enforce, do we want to move towards a Western,
Mhm.
motif like you see here? And there was nothing for us to enforce there. So we really couldn't. There was this
Yeah.
idea in our code that says, there's got to be, you got to be similar to the buildings around it. So they brought pictures and said, look, what do you want us to
What
be
is
similar to?
similar?
Because
You
you have
have
so
eight
many different roof
things
lines
going
going
on.
on. There's
Yeah.
different, so we couldn't do anything.
So that's more of what I was talking about, was those conversations.
Mhm.
And I guess I didn't realize that it was happening necessarily because of Bluestone, but no.
I think that brought it
I
to
think
light.
I think it opened our eyes to the fact that, all right, if there's going to be a defining characteristic of the Hinckley Town Center, we need to be able to define it before we can
Sure.
legitimately expect people to live it, right? Anything you don't put conscious thought and planning into, later on down the road, you're going to end up with something you hadn't planned to have.
Mhm.
That's just the nature of anything evolving over time.
On the flip side, there's nothing that would stop a strip mall, for instance, from coming. We have no architectural design standards at all that would prevent something from that. And so that's always a concern is, do you really want to see those type of buildings in town center?
We were very lucky with the Bluestone project that it was as nice as it was, but it doesn't have to be by our regulations.
On the 2.2, what if we, because this said create, and obviously this has been in place for 10 years, it was never done. So do we want to change create to consider? Because here it's saying create something, it's been 10 years, nothing was ever done.
These are just action objectives. Goals is what I think of these as, and if
They
the
all
goal
say
is to
create.
create, that's
You're just looking to inspire the zoning part.
Right.
So I threw up the blue up there, because listening to everybody, it sounds almost like objective CI 2 and 3 can actually be collapsed together
Mhm.
and kind of summarize it. I like the word maybe uniformity, maybe something different, create uniformity in the appearance and design of future development in town center. Just a very
Yeah.
high level statement. And then pick actions that maybe you want to see under there for consideration if you want to do that.
maybe. Is it uniformity or is it standards? And maybe it is uniformity.
I don't know, I'm just, right now, that was a good placeholder word.
What I was gonna say is maybe what about create uniformity in the quality of the appearance and design as opposed to just, everything just looks like, it's also, when you go down below, it starts talking about,
materials.
okay, brick and stone and wood and, so it talks about quality, but create uniformity in the quality of the appearance and design. Not necessarily that everything has to look alike, but it's all
Now
certain.
maybe you can bring up.
Personally, I like the call out that Marcus just made of, instead of uniformity, we say standards. Because when the comprehensive plan says create uniformity,
All the same.
Yeah, that's
then
what it
that
means.
means we need cookie cutter solutions
We
for
would never
town
have
center.
any.
Whereas
Hudson.
we can, if the comprehensive plan says create standards, it allows the community to provide input on what those standards look like. As opposed to, all right, we're gonna set, this is what it needs to look like, and that applies across the board.
Yeah, I like that.
So do we
And-
want to use the word quality in there, like create quality standards for the appearance or in the?
I think that's what we're.
I honestly, I think it would be standards in the appearance and quality.
Yeah.
Appearance.
Is it standards or guidelines?
Guidelines. That's fine, because to me, a standard is something you cannot go below,
Mhm.
you cannot miss.
Guidelines in the appearance and quality. Not design.
It would be a comma, appearance, quality, and design. Right?
Yes,
That's fine.
yes.
It would be appearance,
three?
quality,
Yeah.
and design.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question about CI2, the objective itself. And to ensure future infrastructure improvements in around town center, there's two state routes that go through there. If ODOT decides they're gonna run right through the middle of town on 303, how much does Hinckley have to say about something? Not about repaving the road, I'm saying the design. They come to us and they say, we're redoing 303 right down the middle of this. Can we go to them and go, we want these sidewalks and we need these, we have no say, right?
We have no say, but you can certainly give them this and say, this is our this is what the community is hoping. Can you try to work with this?
Right.
Whether they do or not is a.
And so when I think about that, I see that, and we're talking about, like, if we can't direct the infrastructure improvements themselves, other than, please, sir, can you please do this? Because this is what we want it to look like. I wonder about having to have that language in there like that, because if we're using Hudson as the example of that pre-planned cookie cutter thing in this conversation, that has 303 right through the middle of it, but it's adjacent to it. All of that was a loop that was put next step by a developer and everything, right? So it gives an appearance of a downtown Hudson feel, but it's not controlled by ODOT at that point. And ODOT can roll right through and do what they want to 303, and it won't really mess with what they have done. Where here, boy, it's right smack in the middle of it. So that's my only concern about that language in there is.
Correct if I'm wrong, but ODOT couldn't do anything with sidewalks, it'd just be the road.
Well, and the easement.
The easement.
Yeah.
But normally the sidewalk is just outside the easement. That's how, except for
Yes.
here, but
Yeah.
normally that's.
Because remember all that they had to go through when they were talking.
I mean, and I think one of the things that would kind of prevent ODOT from doing that is specifically, we are saying, all right, you need to build close to the street.
Okay, sure.
But
And they're, I mean, could they, with eminent domain, take over a business and tear it down?
Sure.
Absolutely. Would that be an absolute nightmare for them? 100%.
they've
And-
got plenty of road right away. They don't have to knock down any buildings to make
Yeah.
things bigger. But I think to your point, if they wanted to put up a certain level of signage, there's nothing the township could do about it. It's
Okay, I just had a question about our
with
relationship there
street
with the
lights.
infrastructure and what we could and could not.
Yeah.
Okay,
So does anybody know the status on Bluestone? Like, is that going
Well, we're
forward?
not gonna go,
Oh, okay, well, the only reason I ask, right, is because it was gonna set a standard essentially. And it's not so much a deal now, but when we had uniformity in there, that was gonna then be the standard at that point, was it not?
Not necessarily, because there weren't any guidelines on appearance, quality, or design.
Mhm.
So right next to Bluestone, they could have put in a
Pizza joint with.
with a Pizza Hut top, if that's what they wanted to. Right, because we don't have any of that defined. So no, I understand your question was that going to become the standard?
Right.
No, because there's nothing in the zoning code that requires that to be the standard. So as a result, anyone else that wanted to develop around it could do whatever zoning permits.
So how do you take this? Because I'm assuming there are people on both sides of this that want a standard, they want a Hudson. So how do you take this out for survey and get a breakout of one or the other? If you just have this,
I think that
Statement.
this was a pretty straightforward question. It's, do you
Do you
want guidelines and, do you want us to create town guidelines for town center related to appearance, quality, or design? Yes or no? And that one to me is a pretty easy one relative to a lot of the other things.
sure, but if I say yes, we've already split here a little bit in just discussion. You could have strict guidelines or you could have loose guidelines.
And this is kind of the difficulty in crafting these questions, right? Because ultimately what we're asking is, should we or shouldn't we? But that bifurcates into, if we do, are you gonna be okay when it looks nothing like how you want it to look?
Right.
And then the people who say no, you have to ask them, are you sure you want every single
Whatever
place
you
in
want.
downtown Hinkley to look however the heck they want it to look?
Right.
And then, honestly, in the first meeting, you kind of cut directly to the core of the difficulty of zoning specifically in a township, which is, all right, how are we going to give people individual property rights
Right.
in a township? And then say, but you can't, you gotta follow these rules. That really is the heart of zoning in a township.
And these are only, again, just high level goals and aspirations of what we want to achieve. We'll still, if we implemented this through zoning, we would still have multiple rounds of meetings. We would have a public hearing. The township would have a public hearing and the township trustees would vote on it. So there's a lot of both elected and unelected, people involved in it, as well as any public that wants to provide input. So this is again, just a goal
Yeah.
that kind of gives us some tools to work with as we move forward.
Okay.
so what elements of the guidelines do you want shown in the actions? And, trying to make it simple as opposed to making it like a requirement.
I like 3.1.
You like 3.1?
I think, and this is more, Mr. Pearl, this is your area. 3.1, shouldn't that first "and" be eliminated? Says promote the use of high quality and traditional and natural. Shouldn't it be high quality, comma, traditional?
I'm not finding that.
Where are you
3.1.
Paragraph begins create,
Simple.
Simple
and clear.
simple.
Simple
and clear
comment.
development.
Yeah.
that promote the use of high quality and traditional and natural materials as part of future development.
I have no problem with that one, as written.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the expert on it.
I'm not an expert.
All right, so let's start with the first one that's there, placemaking and branding of street and streetscape improvements. Is that something you want to see in there? Do you want to rewrite it? Do you want to take it out? Do you know what it means?
I take out street and slash, and just leave it streetscape. We're not doing anything to the street, it's
Sure.
streetscape. And then I'm fine with it.
I'm kind of curious about the branding piece,
About the what?
Mhm.
the
Branding.
branding piece,
I've been
as
mulling
far
that
as
for a couple
streetscape,
minutes now.
right? What's that?
I've been mulling that for a few minutes now.
What can we do about the
Well,
street?
No,
but
the
so-
branding portion of that sentence.
Again, what's Hinckley's brand? And that went back to our
Correct.
mission statement, right? What's Hinckley's brand? And that would be what it is the Hinckley's brand a historical community, and therefore you want more of a brand of the Western motif or a red brick motif? Or is it a forward-looking community and you might want more of a modern
Mhm.
branding motif? I think that's where you would go with that. I see the struggle with, this whole action item to me is one of those that I would be okay getting rid of. But that's where I think they're going with that is, are we a brand of historical? Are we a brand of
Modern.
Yeah.
What's
I
our,
think
but-
that's
but
a
like you
whole
said,
debate
without
that can
definition,
go
what
on
is the
for
brand?
years.
Yeah.
so that's why it's just up there.
So you like 2.1 as this? You wanna keep that up there or wanna remove it?
I think a survey question would allow us to possibly get rid of some of those things, should
I don't think you'll ever get that
yeah, that's the
That
other thing.
deep into a survey. It would be too long of a survey.
I mean, I think that the first point is less impactful than the things talking about like the quality of the
Mhm.
structure.
Right.
Yes.
We're just talking about signage. I mean, so, I mean, is it really a deal breaker?
And
I
wouldn't
would say
you,
no, but the quality of the buildings that are going up, and I think that means more.
So what
That's-
I,
people are gonna
and
care
would
about.
guidelines make number one happen anyway?
Yes.
Like if you guys are, or if,
not necessarily,
okay.
because when you're talking about streetscape, that is the difference between, like, right now, we have just wide open entryways into a parking lot and whatever. If we say, all right, streetscape improvements means you have to put in a curb, an oval curb with shrubs or a tree in there, and you're gonna have a narrow opening for entry and exit. There's a big difference between a mulch mound going into into gravel versus actual cement or blacktop with a curb and, basically a planter. And so whether or not we would undertake that is a question. Because I'll tell you, depending on the purpose of the business,
Right.
you might have, 40-foot long tractor trailers pulling in that
True.
they can't
Can't get out that
navigate
curb.
that.
Yeah.
And it entirely depends on what kind of business is in there. Now, yes, we do have limitations on what kind of businesses can be in an area, but I'll tell you right now, Foster's gets a lot of deliveries and they are totally cool,
Greensmith.
as does Greensmith, yeah. And I'll bet Greensmith gets a lot of tractor trailer
Big trailers.
flatbeds coming in.
Yep.
So we're good with 2.1 for right now?
Yes,
Anybody else say yes?
That's
Yes.
fine. Yeah.
Seems fine.
Okay, 2.2, we need to tweak that. We talked about public and private. So
I don't like the public and private.
I'd like to
I think
remove
just
it
the public.
entirely.
Why not just write it for just the public?
how about just create a defined signage template?
I almost think that can already fall under 2.1.
I agree.
I actually
branding
think
is
the top
already
three can be
signage.
combined if you write it
So
correctly.
maybe integrate placemaking, branding and signage as part of future.
I think of branding and signage,
kind of
See,
one and the
they
same,
kind of
you know?
work together, so that's why I think you can almost get rid of it.
See, that I still get stuck on the branding because I think of it from a corporate perspective. When they put something out, they want the logo done a certain way.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's branding, and in certain colors, certain fonts, and you can't change from that.
So maybe it should be integrate placemaking and signage, integrate
That get,
I'm not certain what integrate means, but,
they have strict.
placemaking and signage that becomes part of the future improvements.
Well, I think the answer is actually in the top objective, because we don't talk about any specific thing. We talk about appearance. I think you can go back to that.
Okay.
That by diving into branding, by diving into what color or whatever, it's not necessarily what you're after. Again, I hate to go back to it, but I'm gonna go back to Hudson, right? If you look at that as an example, not that I'm promoting, but as an example, I was just there a week and a half ago. All of the individual businesses still have their own logos.
Mhm.
It's not like when you look at all of that stuff in that pre-planned area, the buildings are, the logos aren't. The uniformity comes from the architecture, not from the individual branding, right? So I think that's where I'm going is like, we're probably getting too in the weeds on this, but like, is that there has to be individual businesses and stuff like that have to have flexibility to run their own logos and do it. So like, I don't think, my personal opinion is that we shouldn't be trying to even ask zoning to try to impose any standards like that. It's, do we want a nice appearance thing? Yeah, sure. I don't know how you define that. I think I'd leave that more to zoning to try to create more of those standards in the future. But like, we're kind of all, like, I feel like the first three, if you write it correctly, can be put together because we're talking about that. We want it to have a nice appearance with some stuff like that. And we're asking that in the future, near or in the medium or long-term future, we do create some form of development and appearance standards. And that we don't need to get so in the weeds on what they are right now. I think that's kind of my view on it.
It's been 37 minutes and we haven't gotten
gotten
through 2.1.
That's what I'm trying to
We haven't
say.
gotten through either of them.
We just need to, we can simplify it, is all I'm saying.
So what do you want to do?
Integrate placemaking and branding as part of a future streetscape improvement and create simple and clear development standards that promote the use of high quality, just
Yes.
remove two to all entirely and just move the section 3.1 directly into 2.1.
Yeah.
So get rid of this.
Yep.
Let's do this. All right, and we're keeping 2.1 as is.
Yep.
And make this 2.2.
Nope,
No.
add create into period improvements, period.
Why does it have to be added? If it's gonna say that anyway, just make it two separate
Yeah.
options. They're each one period
Yeah,
or
we
one
want to make it a
sentence.
little easier to
Okay.
read.
Yeah,
Let's
that's fine.
try not to do the.
not a lot of
commas.
ands and commas and.
Right,
So it'd be 2.2.
2.2. Create simple and clear development standards, right?
And I know these things are binding, but that list of materials, is that meant to be like exclusive? Does that mean you can't have vinyl siding or something?
Exactly, plastic.
Yeah.
So should that granularity be there in terms of the elements, or should that just be period after renovations and then that becomes part of the, whichever way?
I think it's fine as is. I mean, because I think you're sort of
Yeah.
inferring what
Would
they're
you
talking
consider to
about,
be
brick and
actual
stone,
materials?
yeah.
Yeah, you would almost make that just to read as an EG Brickstone, for
Right.
example.
That's a good idea.
Right, obviously.
The point was this, I mean, certain materials are excluded on purpose, and I think the
There's
answer
no
is no.
comma after development in 3.2.
Yes.
Are we on 3.2 yet?
So there's no comment after development or,
3.2.
oh,
Yeah,
3.2.
so I think we can get rid of 3.2. Doesn't 3.2 relate back up to objective 1? It looks like it's pedestrian circulation again.
It does.
Yes.
So I think we could get rid of that one.
We just can get rid of that.
We're already encouraging that. And I think we can get rid of that one because I don't know how else you would do it.
Yeah, that's kind of like stating the obvious.
Do it legally. Okay.
It seems to me that two.
Done.
Got it.
Seems
Agreed.
to me that 2.2 with the exclusion of some of those other materials, it was designed for a branding. It was designed for
All
Hudson.
of this was designed for a branding.
Yeah, yes.
This was certainly design standards.
Okay, are we done with
Yes, please.
CI point two?
Not that it matters a whole lot. You left a floating period.
I know, I'll go back and clean that up. CI4, partner with local and regional organizations to develop a plan for future green space acquisition and easements. Now, remember, we're talking about town center here, aren't we?
Are we, I don't know.
No,
that
I
this
think just
chapter-
objective 1, 2, and 3 are town center.
A unique character goal.
4 and 5 are breaking out
Oh,
from that.
that's right, okay. All right, 4, partner with local and, it's gonna be 3 star. Partner with local and regional organizations to develop a plan for future green space acquisition and easements. All right, 4.1, reevaluate the effort to pass a green space levy. So that concept has been floated out there and has been shut down. So do we want to continue to suggest a green space levy?
I would recommend getting rid of it.
Catching you up.
With the amount of metro parks that are already within the community, I don't think there's gonna be a whole lot of appetite for additional taxes to get more green space.
Any other comments?
And the loss of taxes. So I agree 100% with Matt.
Exit.
I know John wants it.
Yeah, I think it was tried and difficult and yeah, I think you have to eliminate it.
Actually, I'd like to see both of 4 eliminated.
You'd like to see what?
4.2 to eliminated as well.
Well, then there's no actions under objective.
All right, great, eliminate it. Because I'll tell you right now, the Cleveland Metro Parks has no interest in partnering with us. They're gonna do what they wanna do.
They're gonna do what they want to do.
But I don't know that that's the community's sentiment, is that, I don't know that the community disfavors parks as strongly as some of the members of our commission here suggest. And that's where,
Oh, no, I think the community very much supports parks.
but I don't know that they disfavor the growth of parks.
The issue from my desk, this is just a personal opinion, is the Metro Parks and NOACA are pushing an agenda which is not in alignment with a lot of I'm just my opinion, with what I see.
And that might very much be true. How many people within the community do you really think know or did agree with that sentiment on the metro parks? I
I
don't
think a
think.
decent amount.
How
I've
many-
seen it come out.
How many people within the community know that every single time the metro parks expand, the tax base becomes smaller and we have to pay higher taxes in addition to
The community voted for the.
the
renewal
metro
levy
parks
Mhm.
levy.
Pretty strongly. voted for the
Correct.
levy.
So then
That's good. for them.
that's absolutely true. And that's the whole point. If they want to take over more of
They
the,
will just take it.
they will, they'll purchase it.
Well, we represent the community.
They will,
And
right.
we're all sort of in agreement about not doing anything to work with the Metro Park. Is that correct?
I'm in agreement, yes.
Yes.
I think we need to take a stand and not even include them in the plan. We can't not disinclude. We
You
can't
can't
eliminate,
preclude their involvement. That's impossible because
They
they're
are
a
a
much
buyer.
larger
but we shouldn't
organization.
put anything on our plan that shows any cooperation with them, because they'll do what they want to do.
They haven't.
They always do what they want to do.
If you admit it, it's.
If anything, they hold community meetings, they get a feel for it, and then they hold a bigger community meeting with their theory of how they want to do it. We saw it with Hinkley Lake, renovating the Hinkley Lake and the dam.
I mean, you bring up that it's acquiescence. So would you rather it said something along oppose Cleveland Metro Parks efforts? Because by including them and saying we want to support them, all right, that's acquiescence.
I think
Removing
I
them.
think this comes under a topic I suggested we add at the first meeting, and that is external threats. I mean, what's gonna stop them from just
Nothing.
gobbling us up? We can't simply just say, oh, well, there's nothing we can do, let's give up. But there's gotta be something we can do. Maybe a levy is a good idea, and get people of Hinckley to start buying up all the land in Hinckley.
So partnering and coordinating are terms that would suggest teaming up in collaboration, but engagement might be different.
Yeah.
You can't not engage, even if they don't give a damn. I understand that. I fully buy that premise. But can you just walk away, to your point? You can't.
If my,
How, I don't have an answer for that, but you can't walk. Sorry.
if my corporate goals are to partner with Coca-Cola, that doesn't mean a damn thing, because Coca-Cola has no interest in working with me. They're gonna do exactly what they want to do. So by saying I want to work with Coca-Cola, that means that our values align.
Good point.
Do our values align? And that I think is the question we need to ask about this. If our values align, then absolutely, let's keep it in there and say, hey, let's partner with Metro Parks. If our values don't align, then we can remove them. And that's actually sends a pretty clear message, because now we have a historic document that shows, yeah, we wanted to partner with you. You did whatever you wanted, and now we're no longer interested in partnering. Pound dirt, and then they'll come back and say, all right, well, we're gonna buy your whole community, because they can. Which is what they'll do if they want to anyways.
So let me just throw this out, since this objective seemed to be about creating maybe green space or preserving land,
Mm-hmm.
perhaps, what we found people have been doing is, encouraging private, initiatives for like, the Western Reserve Land Conservancy. So maybe instead of us as a township and community partnering with these other organizations, what we want to now say is we want to encourage private initiatives to partner with Conservancy to preserve green space.
And I think we don't name Western Reserve
No,
because there's
yeah,
other.
I don't wanna-
Specifically, because they're, they might not want to partner with us, but they partner with other people when it comes to this, whether it's
Right.
Cuyahoga County. But I'm just saying, Western
I'm just
Reserve.
trying to flip it is, if we
private.
have said historically that we found that Metro Parks, your Coca-Cola example, their goals and our goals may not align. How else can we achieve preserving land, maintaining green space, and that's to encourage just private property
I
owners.
like that.
Through individual property ownership.
Yeah.
That's how you preserve it.
Oh, let's face it, this is an invasion, right? I know that sounds paranoid, but just connect all the dots. You can see where this is going.
And I do think it's important not to name a Western, because
I don't
One of
think
them.
we should, it's
we
just,
shouldn't name
we
anybody.
shouldn't be naming anybody in here because that's like, favoring them.
Correct.
Because there could be other organizations out there that we're not aware of or may develop over time. But I think that, just to kind of say things more categorically and generically.
I think we also just need to be aware of who their partners are, because they have partnered with the Western Reserve Land Conservancy before. So that's all I'm saying is they could end up doing a transfer or something like that. That could happen.
Well, it could happen anywhere along the line.
I agree. And that's why I like the concept of people they can deed it however they want.
So we want to promote green space through conservation easements and title and deed restrictions. We're not naming anyone.
That's all spread out very weirdly.
It will adjust as, I think, maybe not.
Yeah, it's just carrying that font over from the prior.
Yeah.
I think if you start after the P and then start typing and then just backspace over the P, yeah. You start in there, we'll start, yeah.
Promote, Richard, can you repeat that again?
It's just great.
Conservation easements and deed restrictions.
Conservation easements. Deed restrictions. Keep going.
That's it.
Um,
To
and
private land owners,
Promote conservation easement and deed restrictions.
to private land owners.
What do you mean a deed restriction to a private land?
I don't know, I don't know.
How do you what?
I'm asking, Matt was saying deed restrictions to private landowners. How are you doing a deed
Promote, so
restriction?
you're
We're
promoting
promoting,
to.
we're not telling them you have
How
to.
about by private landowners instead of to?
Yeah, yeah. So that's like basically saying when I die, this is my deed restriction on my property, that
Right.
X, Y, Z is gonna happen to it.
But again, the overall goal is to preserve green space.
Correct.
Right.
Oops.
So
I was looking at it as an action item where as a community, we're putting on, hey, we're gonna promote these two private individuals.
Do we talk about that anywhere else about, we don't, right? So far.
So
So why don't we make that more general? Promote green space,
and then use the easements and deed restrictions as an action.
right, as a bullet.
I don't think that's a bad idea, because
Yeah.
what are we
Seems
gonna
good,
put underneath
because I
that?
don't, yeah, that's why I don't know what your actions are.
So maybe use what we just wrote as the action and then as the objective, like to,
Encourage or
encourage green space
preservation.
preservation. There you go.
So the objective is to encourage green space preservation.
Correct.
I think that this is an area that we're gonna have to try to solicit more community feedback. Cause this is like, to Marcus's point, I think that, John, you're an expert in this area with the relationships with the general area, you know, far in a way more about it than I do. But the community maybe not knowing the implications of
Correct.
is everybody's in favor of the idea of green space. How you get there,
And-
however, is a different thing. And I think if you poll the community, most of them would be like, I love parks. What's the
Yeah,
problem with parks?
you're right.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
like, and that's why I really think we need to tread lightly on this one. Let's write it down, let's get it there, but this needs to be hit in our community engagement. Cause this is gonna be one of the most noticeable things that people in the township will see.
And outside entities as well.
For sure, for sure.
And they will 100% be interested in it. Everybody, I mean, everybody wants green space in Hinckley,
Yes.
except developers.
Hmm.
All right,
But they don't usually.
but that doesn't necessarily mean that they understand that, okay, by promoting the green space, what we're actually doing is opening a door to this, that, or the other. Even folks that are moving out here, they're like, oh, I'm moving out here for the space and the nature.
Yeah.
And the more that happens, the less space and nature there is.
Well, people vote against their own interests all the time because they don't have a full idea of what is happening.
And
So
every
we need to
day,
be, that's to my point, that's why we need to be careful.
every day, there's something else that gets added in, right? I think next we jump into, the river corridors and stuff like that. They're adding stuff as recently as last Friday about, reforesting river corridors, the Rocky River in particular. And again, I mean, we're talking about private property rights at that point.
Mhm.
Okay, are we,
So bear with me. I took this whole thing out and I added into land use. And what I wrote was a new objective to explore expansion of open space that will provide usable open space opportunities for township residents. And for the action, I wrote create literature and website content for, I can't read my own writing. Easements and deed restrictions to increase community awareness. Does this belong under land use? But is it really character?
I'm concerned about
I'm not.
the second part of your sentences, because the website and everything else, because I know the township's got to be real careful on what, to limit what they can put on the website and making sure.
You would have to encourage private people to do that. Not the township.
Hmm.
Okay. I'm fine. I'll pass on that.
all right, are we just gonna leave C3 here for now? Because when
Yeah,
you
but I'm
see
not
number
opposed to it.
5,
Okay.
you may want to formulate also. Protect the natural corridors along the east branch of the Rocky River and Kiwi Creek as the primary organizing framework, creating a connected open space network within the township and as a linkage to neighboring communities. Now, that's like a huge mouthful. That's saying connect all our parks and rivers to all our neighboring communities so that people 3 communities over can end up
In Hinckley.
in Hinckley, or vice versa, you can go to Rocky River or whatever.
think if you talk to people who live along the river, they're not gonna like this at all.
Right. And so,
It actually kind of goes back to what I had said about. in the
If they
first
want to do
meeting.
it, they're gonna do it.
Well, no, in the first meeting, that once you start doing this, bike paths follow. Bike paths mean 25-mile-an-hour speed limits, and all of a sudden, we're not nearly as accessible or convenient, which is one of the defining things that that make Hinckley so great. So I would certainly encourage robust discussion on this one.
People aren't gonna want strangers walking around their backyard, and that's what this allows or promotes. What, John, what were you saying about something that happened last Friday?
So last Friday was NOAC's policy meeting where they introduced some of their comprehensive climate action plan, implementation strategy. And one of those was talking about reforestation of 10 square miles along the banks of the Cuyahoga, Chagrin, Black, and Rocky Rivers. They call it hold on, I have it written down, the Headways Forest Initiative. You can't find anything with that particular name online, but you can find similar projects that have been done through the state and ODNR. I was looking at some of the money that was spent on this. It's tens, if not almost hundreds of millions of dollars.
Did you say headways? Is that what you said?
Headways. So it's called the Headways Forest Initiative.
That implies-
Headwaters.
Headwaters.
I apologize.
Which is exactly what we are.
I would remove 1.5 altogether. Take 5.3, bump it up because it applies to preserving green space.
Hmm.
And eliminate the rest.
well, what about keeping the first part of 1.5 and putting a period after creek?
I think that is a good
That's what-
solution.
Yeah,
I crossed everything after creek, crossed out everything after creek.
And
Then
then,
it becomes a zoning thing.
Well, it does and it doesn't.
Does.
Because what you have to understand is then you have the water,
watershed.
Flood
the
water.
watersheds and it's not the watersheds.
riparian,
Riparian setbacks that we don't set.
Right.
Those are set by
The county.
county and state level organizations. And so they can make it wider and wider and wider if we're saying, hey, this is something that is important to the community.
Yeah.
I think, I personally, I think we would go along with just eliminating all but 5.3 and moving 5.3 up north.
I like 5.3 with the previous a lot. I think it makes more sense.
5.3, what we put in 3.1. So
Make it a 3.2.
So everything
Oh,
above,
take this.
just delete the lines above it, everything
Nope,
above it.
Metro Parks, start at Metro Parks above 5.2.
Yeah, get rid of that.
All of that,
All the way up to
all
the
the way
other.
up.
All
Keep
the
it
way
up.
up to 5.1.
Yep.
No, all the way up to like 3 point whatever.
3.1.
Just get rid of that whole objective area.
Oh, so forget this, protect natural corridors,
Yes.
huh?
Yes.
Yes? Just get rid of all of it.
Yeah.
Somewhere, someone from OHM is shedding a tear. I don't know if anybody wants to look at that.
I don't think they care. They got their money from the
They're
township.
getting their money, but they're gonna grow off it. Those are, so that's again, it's small, and I apologize.
So this is gonna be CI
3.2.
That's their proposed trails for the regional metro parks trail.
That look, okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yep.
Everybody's good with that?
Yes.
Can I hear
Yes.
yeses?
Yes.
Yes.
So-
Yes.
Candace?
I have a headache, I'm fine.
Okay. All right, continue to enhance property maintenance conditions at town.
Is there such a thing? Because you've had so many, I don't think there is today.
Don't
And it's not enforceable because just drive through the township.
It's
Yeah.
enforceable. It's not enforced.
It's enforceable.
It's enforceable.
Who would
Lots
be
of
the
communities
enforcement
have
arm for that?
standards, township.
The township would be? Not. Would they, or would they use the police department for that? It would be
So ultimately, what
like a
it comes
public
down
fine
to,
fee schedule?
it's not even that.
Okay.
What it comes down to is they get a letter from the zoning inspector.
Okay,
Then it escalates and escalates and escalates until,
Just like any other.
okay,
Just like
now-
any other zoning violation.
oh, yes, yeah, 100%, 100%.
okay, it's the same mechanism.
Yes,
Okay,
and then,
all right.
and then it goes to court. And then when it goes to court, they show a little bit of improvement and it's, okay, well, they're making progress. And then it gets thrown out. And
Or
then it
ultimately it
escalates,
becomes an easement on their house.
Yeah.
Right,
And then they never sell their house and.
so not,
It goes
now
to
now
their
that I
estate.
understand it's the same function as zoning, then I get it now, yeah.
I still think that should be an objective. I don't know that we should, I don't know what the focus property
Yes.
maintenance efforts in around town center. I think we can get rid of that one. But I still think an objective should be to maintain some level of property maintenance. We don't want to see junkyards all throughout the township.
Agreed.
So we should be doing something to protect people's property.
I do agree that maybe we should consider eliminating 6.2.
Yeah.
Because really what we're doing.
Wrong direction, Cindy.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily want to
Here's the back.
prioritize town center
Top left.
for property standards above other parts of the township.
Very top up by the
Keep
safe
going
button.
up. Yeah,
There you go, that one.
This
You
one?
can
Right
undo
there,
what you
yep.
just did.
That's all
Yep, keep hitting it.
Keep going.
Keep going till you,
All right.
there you go.
Okay,
Are you still tracking or did you take off? Oh, did you
no, it's
just hide?
tracking on the side.
Oh, that's weird. Okay.
Well, so like this is a new version of Word and I'm like kind of, it's a little different, like I wanted the strike throughs
Yeah,
for deletions, but it's like, and I can't.
there's
figure out
gotta be
how
a
to do
setting
it.
for that.
But it's like I said, this is a new,
Yeah.
we just got this loaded like last Friday, so it was a little taken back that it.
Can we add a few words to this last action?
Sure.
As regulated by the zoning regulation.
Isn't that implied?
This is this is a goal for what the zoning regulation is.
But it defines how to do it. Through
Well-
zoning, through the zoning regulation.
We did take out the regulating the.
I mean, like, why didn't we do that for
The other
these
thing.
Cs? We didn't say like C 1.2, create whatever through zoning regulations.
Because everything's through zoning.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
Oh,
So I'm not sure why.
Okay.
So are we good here?
Yes.
Okay, community.
Through one goal.
So, yeah, community service.
half of
goal.
Blank.
We
So
started.
there's- So community service, at first meeting, when we wanted to break out community service and infrastructure goals, so. I have that page that says community service is blank, and I just, all the. CS goals I put under infrastructure, so,
So all the previous ones would have been CH for character and for community services would be CS.
yeah.
Okay.
But this is what you're seeing here under infrastructure. The tab had said previously, community service plus infrastructure.
Right,
So I put a community service page.
Right.
And then I put infrastructure, and then I took all the CSs because that's what they were, and I just threw them under here at infrastructure. So
oh, I see.
like which ones, what is a community service goal versus an infrastructure goal? And all these CS ones that are there that seem to talk about public utilities don't really talk about community service, they seem to talk about infrastructure. So what do we want to do here? Do we want to focus on the infrastructure first? Do we want to develop? Because like, we don't really, when you really look at it, what community service through infrastructure, is that what 2015 meant? Community service, you kind of think of
Well, they do,
direct services to the residents.
when you look at 1.1 and 1.2, it does kind of talk about a service, community education service,
Okay.
not so much.
Related strongly to infrastructure.
Right, correct.
I almost think that we work through the infrastructure and just keep working through. And
Deal
then
with
if
what
we
we already have.
identify things that just make more sense under community service, do community service, but community service is almost like a catch-all too.
Well, I would say community service is educating the public on green space.
Like
Right.
your comment.
But is that more appropriate within the green space section? That's
Fair
why I'm
enough,
like,
right.
it might just end up that all of the community service items have kind of filtered themselves out elsewhere, and we don't have a separate community service section.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Right.
All right, let's just go through what's here and then we can categorize it. Because it'd be nice if we could get through these CSs before 8 o'clock.
Good luck.
So if we're doing infrastructure, these should be IN.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll give them codes. I don't even like the CSs and INs, and they come up with.
I know, but so we can talk among us.
Okay,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
all right, encourage sound management, maintenance and stewardship of private wells and septic systems to reduce the need for public utility service.
I like it.
But isn't that by the town, by the county?
Township can do it. I don't think anyone in the township
It
does.
doesn't mean that the township directly has to do, we can invite the public health department to come in and do those and provide
Okay.
sessions.
Hmm.
Educate residents on the proper maintenance of on-site septic systems and water wells.
I like that.
Educate residents of the environmental impacts caused by additional growth from utility service extensions.
I have no idea what that means.
Yeah, same,
And development.
So really what it means, when the utility service grows, the requirement for septic systems drops. So ultimately, the 2-acre minimum is specifically tied to our need for a septic system and a backup location of that septic system.
That has nothing to do with 1.2. 1.2 doesn't, it's saying, what are the negative, almost the way I'm reading that is educate residents on the negative environmental impacts caused by the growth of utility service extensions. The only
Is that
one that
not
I would
environmental
see,
impact?
that's.
Having,
I would say environmental impacts would be like, if you put in a high voltage, line, what are or just one of those carrier, what's the environmental impact of that? How does it affect birds or whatever? If you put in a windmill, how does that affect the, certain? But that's how I would read that.
Well, it's almost under that heading is saying, what's the environmental impact of eliminating private wells and septic systems and having public utility?
Right.
I'm not sure what the intent was, but
What I'm reading from this myself is maybe that the extension of storm sewers, it could have a negative effect on wells.
CS1 is about well water and septic actions. CS2 is about public water and sewer actions.
Right, and could those sewer actions take away well
So
water?
we're talking, okay.
But
Say
the
it again.
objective is to encourage management to
Educate,
reduce the need for public utility service. So read it in that context. And what does it mean?
honestly,
Educate
it seems like
residents.
1 and 2 are juxtaposed to one another.
No,
So do you need to?
I don't know that they're juxtaposed. They're consistent with one another. You're wanting, the first one's educating residents on maintaining. The second one is you're educating residents so that they don't need.
or don't encourage, right?
So if you educate residents on proper maintenance of wells and septic systems, aren't you at the same time educating them on the environmental impacts?
Not what that means.
I mean, I think it really, it lends to growth. I think that when we look at the developments, any development that's gonna go in is more than likely gonna have water, and they're gonna likely have sewer.
That's not
Sure.
Depends on location.
Most of our developments that go in do not have
Okay.
either sewer.
So let's say that it is going to be one that's going to have those, that people are in favor of development that has that they need to be educated as to the impacts that they're going to have.
Got a comment from the back here.
So I have this problem because I run a well system. So it is not. So the state has their standards. They have a 50-foot, then they have a 100-foot circle of what you're supposed to do, what you're allowed to have. The roads, like if a road goes within 50 foot of a wellhead, that is more or less frowned. But if you have no other choice, and you have nothing else to do. If somebody builds, so say you have a well system on your property and my wellhead is 35 feet from your property, and you decide to build a parking lot, not a parking lot, but like a concrete and do all this other stuff, are you taking away from the next neighbors? So there's a lot of wellheads, a lot of septic systems that will not meet the EPA's guidelines because of previous building, concrete driveways, septic systems. There's so many that would, if they came down and went through plot by plot, people would be tearing out all kinds of stuff. And then how much does the homeowner that's buying it responsible for the previous owners, or if they build an extension on their house, or if they build a barn, there's so many, I don't want to say violations that are already here, that it makes it very hard to build anything or do stuff when you have wells and septics.
So what you're saying is that you would like to educate residents of the environmental impacts caused.
I have tried to do that, and you know what I get? I get a blank stare, and it was like that when I got that, there's nothing I'm gonna do about it. And then I tell the EPA the same thing that I was told by the homeowners, and the EPA is like, well, there's nothing we can do unless we make you move your wellhead 35 feet over. And that gets very expensive.
Yeah.
So there's minimum, especially if it's already an established property with buildings, and it gets very difficult. And the EPA is more or less like, well, okay, it's not right. And
Don't do it anymore.
yeah, it's a very difficult, I might even have one of the papers in my car, because every time I get a new neighbor that's along our well system, I have to more or less per EPA, go up and try to explain to them some stuff, and they look at me like, get off my property, I don't know you, it's not my problem, it was like that.
So we want to keep it in there
I say leave it as is.
for now?
What was that?
Keep it in there? Number two?
When I looked this up, so maybe this is what they were going with. The environmental toll of sewer line problems, water contamination, soil degradation, ecosystem disruption, air pollution, public health errors, on and on and on and on. So is this to educate the public that we want to limit that going through the township?
Well, that's outlined in the objective itself, right? Because to encourage sound management, maintenance, and stewardship of private wells and septics to reduce the need for, so the slant of this action item is to public systems bad,
Right.
private system good,
Right.
and additional growth and you have probably utility service is bad. So therefore, we need to educate people on the downside of the utility connection in the first place.
Got it.
So maybe we eliminate the reduce. Because the other thing you look at,
Or negative impacts,
because
environmental negative impacts.
septic
Negative.
and well is a lot more expensive for someone to put in as opposed to public water or sewer. Because once the sewers are in, that's it. Septic, you have ongoing costs every year. potentially replacement at some point.
I think it's just fine just as is. I don't know why you would remove to reduce the need. That is the objective here.
Yeah.
as you
Yeah,
exactly
that's the
captured
point.
it. That's the point here. And then if we get to the next one, when we get to the next one, it's the flip side of that. It's in some areas, you might want to have something
Or
different.
we already have.
So we want.
And the next one is
Supporting
public
condition.
water and sewer actions.
Right.
The first one is well water and septic actions.
Sure.
Right.
They're separate from each other.
Totally separate, and they're
Got it.
encouraging opposite things.
That's, yes.
So are we good with one?
Yes.
I'm okay
For
with it.
now.
Did somebody say no?
She said for now.
Oh, for now, okay. All right, so this will be number 2. Support additional water and sewer service in targeted areas.
I'm okay with that.
Support sewer and water expansion in properties with frontage on 130th.
I would change it to support public water and sewer expansion to properties with frontage on West 130th. Put water first before sewer
Is
and
there
make it public water. Make it
support-
clear.
Can I ask, why is this in here? Why, I see 2.2 and I think 2.2 is accurate. Why is 2.1? Why are we supporting it along West 130th? What makes West 130th unique? Is it because it's on the border of Brunswick and Hinckley? Is it because we want to encourage, based upon our future use map, more industrial there? And so that's why? Is it because we're looking at businesses and we want businesses along there? Why is it calling out West 130th in particular?
That's what it has to be. It has to be business related. I mean, I
It
would
has to
imagine.
be, like the
But then it
future
doesn't
use
say
map.
town center.
Yeah, 130th has a lot of residential
Town
and it
center
has
has
a lot of.
a small
industrial.
section of commercial business. If you look at the future use map, it's got a very large section of industrial, actually, almost half of West 130, half of, from 303 down, about
Probably
half
to
of it.
promote business.
So
Like,
the-
that's what I'm
everyone's
just trying to figure out.
let's
Why
grow
would
the
they call
business
it
up in
there?
that
The cynic
corner.
in me.
We'll put water and sewer there and support it, so it stays over there.
Oh, you
cynic-
think that was the
cynic
motivation
in
to try to
me
keep,
is
okay.
10
By
years ago, let's
specifically
support
delineating.
growth on West
Ah,
130th.
Okay.
And then number 2 is where we decide in the future. And now 10 years down the road,
Keep it over
certain
there.
people are saying, okay, let's run it through town center. And the residents resoundingly said no to that.
No, well, the survey said opposite. Just like we went to the green space levy, the green space levy was a resounding no on the survey. The water was 60% yes in favor of water town center. So it's the opposite. But getting back to this, I'm still trying to figure
I
out.
don't think
why.
that's accurate. We shouldn't relate to the survey.
Let's-
I know, but I'm just saying, we mentioned the green space, and that was the survey results too. So when he's saying that the residents have said resounding no to water town center, where does that come from?
Where does support mean?
What,
I thought that was from the price.
Like, I'm not paying.
you can pump water uphill, but it's very difficult to pump sewage uphill.
No one talked about sewer. I wasn't talking about sewer. I was just
Okay, so you're
about
talking
water,
just
'cause
about
he was
water.
saying water, yeah.
Oh, I said water and sewer.
Well, they said water.
And West 130th is relatively level, so that's a possibility.
Right.
But everywhere else, it's hard to pump sewage uphill.
But
You
that's
can
how-
do it, but it's 5 times more expensive.
I'm
than
just wondering,
gravity.
why are we encouraging it along there? I have a feeling it has to do with that future use map.
I-
I'm almost-
Absolutely. I
That,
think
that it was
it's keep
for
the
commercial and
businesses
business over there.
up there.
So leave it there.
So what do we?
But why do
how
we need to-
support?
I'm just, yeah, that's the question, is why do we need to support it there? If we encourage development of industrial in there, water's gonna inevitably happen, sewer's gonna inevitably happen. Why are we saying, let's
And-
bring the water and sewer there so that we're supporting the business?
Generally
Support the
speaking,
businesses.
if the businesses need it,
They'll
they
pay.
will pay for the cost. Because they see a cost benefit analysis that says, by having my business here, I am going to do better.
But I think that the
But-
township does have to sign off on sewer, right? When Parkview, or when Samody went on now on the Dries development on West 130th.
Yeah, there was
The-
some modification.
The township has to make some approval modifications to
something
bring
they-
that sewer in. So there is gotta be some level of support for it, because the township has to approve of that.
But in terms of support, financial support.
There was no
that's
financial.
coming- That's a private,
Right.
so the word support is a misnomer here
Mhm.
because
Correct.
it's not saying public or private.
No, and your suggestion is take
I
out
just-
support.
Take out
and-
support, and you can use encourage or whatever,
Encourage.
because I just feel like support to me, I have teenage children, so support
Means
to me
money.
means I'm giving
She shuddered a
you-
little bit when she heard.
I am helping you. If you
Encourage.
wanna do it, you go right ahead. I will encourage you to do that on your own, but I do not want to support you in
Yeah.
your endeavor.
Even encourage, I think, is too strong of a word. Because
Yeah,
allow-
but something along those lines,
Allow.
allow.
Does the existence of the
Permit.
future use
perm-
map
Yeah,
encourage
just
it?
something where it's not,
It just shows.
it's showing that
it's encouraged.
everyone needs
That's what
to
I'm saying,
help
But
you
by
do this.
encouraging
So
industrially,
before
you're
we get to the
effectively
verb,
encouraging this,
That's
right?
why I
We
think that
still
that
wanna
came, that's why I think
keep
this
the
came.
targeting of 130.
But that's what I'm
not-
saying.
I'm
I
not
think we
opposed
just
to
get
that.
rid of it.
I
Okay.
think so, yeah.
I would rather limit it there than open it up to make them think, okay, we want it
Everywhere.
everywhere.
Yeah.
And the 130th is how they got with Serenity and Redwood. They ran the water and running the sewage up the hill to that. So that's where they put the pumps in. So that was, it was privately done, but that's how they got that through because that's where they brought the water from.
So is it maybe that you're focusing sewer and water expansion to properties with frontage on 130?
I don't want to say focus either, because focus makes it sound like I want you to.
That's, yeah.
Well, it doesn't necessarily if you remove the second part. If you say focus, it's, all right, this is really the only place we want water and sewer.
Just something to keep in mind. I know you all know this probably, but the Brunswick Comprehensive Plan mentions Hinkley 14 times. And they specifically say that Hinkley has a lot of potential. It's, you know, a rich potential for industrial development. So Brunswick is really keeping an eye out on what we do, and we need to be a little bit careful about what we say here, I think.
Good point. Yeah. What about the word direct? Direct sewer and water expansion?
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
What,
Consider,
I mean, because ultimately you're not preventing it,
Right, you can't.
right? But you're not, support is too strong, but prevention, we're not preventing it either. Direct, we can.
on 130, isn't it already on the Brunswick side, water and sewage? Because I'm thinking of all the industrial they put in there.
Yeah, a lot of that
Well,
does have
Probably
water.
definitely water,
sewer.
the sewer, I don't know.
No, because
I
like
mean-
Prairie Vista does not
Well,
have sewer, right? Prairie
Okay,
Vista
I'm
only
thinking
has
north,
water.
north of 303.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yes, but south
South.
of 303, not necessarily.
Hmm.
It's, so Sleepy Hollow, I think, was an access point for
Okay.
water and sewer, like for the Prairie Vista development. I think that's where they're coming off of. Because they're off of Sleepy Hollow, Brunswick had put in a development almost across the street from where Prairie Vista was. That's where he was able to tap in.
right. But otherwise it would not have been that
Right.
down there.
So north of 303, though, I think it's pretty well covered. South of 303, just limited directly south of 303, yeah, maybe, but going down farther, not necessarily.
Thank you.
So what are your problems here?
I just don't like.
I'm personally, I'm skeptical of sewer and water expansion anywhere in the township. Because it allows for much smaller lots.
Water does not.
Sewer certainly does.
Sewer does, water does not. There's no limitation.
But you
on
have
how
to
much
have
water-
both.
But if,
You have to
in,
have sewer and water.
For what?
you know.
You can have water without
There's,
sewer.
yeah, there's lots of properties that have just water.
That's not what I mean, but okay, I don't wanna.
No, it's reasonable.
No, I'm okay. Go on, you were saying,
So when you say skeptical, that brings me up the word consider.
Consider,
Consider
Take out
always
support
means
and
like
consider.
something, we're not gonna do anything. We'll think about it, but we're not doing
Right.
anything, but
It's no action.
But leave it in there
Right.
because we want something about West 130th.
I would prefer consider
Consider.
versus support. Then at least you're throwing it out. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. Support to me is just,
You're in favor of it.
and I'm gonna help you.
More like, we'll see. 1 month.
Yeah, consider,
We'll see.
maybe.
We'll see. What-
Not yes, it's
we'll
not
see.
no.
So in the objective itself, do you still want to use the word support?
No,
Consider.
consider, all of it, consider,
But
2 point, what about 2.2 though?
I mean,
consider.
if you had something in the center of the township that somebody's got a septic system that's failing.
Yeah.
We can certainly consider however to facilitate that, but to
Support?
stretch that
No.
across is not anything that we could control.
I think that there's a difference between sewer and water, and that's true of that point there. So there are stretches of Hinckley where they can't get wells. So they have cisterns.
Yeah, right.
And is that really what we want there? Sewer is a different story. Septics are absolutely true. If a person's septic is failing, it's not normally a regional issue, so it's not, it doesn't apply to neighboring properties. Water is different. It's normally a block of land, multiple properties cannot access well water.
Sure.
So I almost think that we could actually, just limit that C2 maybe just to water instead of sewer. because I
2.2
agree
should
with
just
you.
be water.
Septics, we can't address a failing septic system.
How would you reword 2.2 then?
The only thing before we word, just the one note on this though, is that the county currently requires you to have a primary and backup site for septic systems. There are some people who will struggle with even one septic system site, and so they will have to dump their stuff. And so your goal is to maintain it on the property. So when they look for a site, they look for a site where all that waste is going to be maintained on that property and not run off. There are some sites that are either too small, they're just not going to, and so we are going to end up with that septic flowing to other people's property. So there is some consideration to leaving something about septic because that happens more likely within a regional area. So if there's a street that has 0.5 acre lots built in the 70s, all on septic, and they just can't do the alternate sites, you're gonna have a problem moving forward. But maybe we don't worry about that. So there is some regionality to septic, but it's far different than water.
But again, isn't that more on a county level?
All of this is county water. The township doesn't do water or septic. This is just to consider or encourage or promote whatever word you want there, but it's to have conversations with the county.
So I would agree with the septic, maybe not including that simply because a lot of septic failures could happen through just negligence. And now we're gonna go bail somebody out, right?
You also just can't bail out one person.
Right, correct.
But CS2 doesn't deal with septic. Septic is only in CS1.
CS 2.2,
Well,
where
we would
existing
have
septic
septic
systems
systems
are
are failing.
Pardon?
It supports sewer and water expansion to areas where existing septic systems are failing and public health issues arise, as well as where wells are insufficient.
So I shortened it to support public water expansion to the least extent possible to areas where wells are insufficient, and just leave it at water. For
And that's what I
2.2, just leave it at water,
Okay,
public water.
why don't you read that to me, Richard?
Support public water expansion to the least,
Hold on.
Encourage?
She had-
Support public water expansion
to the least
extent.
extent possible to areas where wells are insufficient.
What was your word? Encourage?
Well, I would do
No.
consider.
No, change
Let
the
me
first
Let me
word.
first get his
Okay.
stuff. So that's it, period?
That's it, period.
Okay,
Now,
now.
everybody can talk about support.
So my only question would be, obviously I would take out support, but the other question would be, what is the least extent possible? Is it your standards or your standards? My standards are very vastly different, most likely than Mr. Long's.
So I took that out of, I think, the 1993
Okay.
comprehensive plan
Okay.
to the least extent possible. I went through all four of the plans and took out wording that I thought we had used once, had some meeting that we used it and tried to get it into our new 25 plan.
Consider,
Consider.
Sure, consider.
Let's go back and consider.
Again, I'm just beating a dead horse, but. So I could say, well, my well is only giving me 20 gallons per minute. His is giving me 30 gallons. That's insufficient for my family. I need 30 gallons per minute.
Drill deeper.
I get it, but you know what I mean? So like, I just think that there's a lot of, and again, it would have to go through zoning, it would have to go through multiple steps. But I
This
just
doesn't
feel
go
like that
through
is very
This does
vague.
not go through this.
Oh,
This goes
This
through
goes through
county.
county.
okay.
That's why,
So by.
So the insufficient word kind of doesn't, it makes me think like, well, making
Well, it
50,000 a year is insufficient to me. I need to make.
And it depends on the use of the
150,000.
property. So if a business says, hey, I need more water because I'm running a business here, then
It's
that's
insufficient.
an argument to go to the town, to the county and say, hey, give me water.
I think it's important, and maybe you guys and Cindy and others that have been here longer can speak to it. What took place when the county did run a line and to certain residents and,
No one hooked up.
yeah,
It was too expensive.
yeah.
And
So I
that's
think
the
that's,
function, it's just,
people should understand that
yeah,
here.
but that doesn't mean the county can make that decision. right?
Sure,
They
but I
can make-
think it's
They won't do it
important
again.
to understand what happened there. Cause I don't think a lot of people know.
I
And
mean,
it cost $30,000 to hook up.
Mattingly was expanded too. I wasn't there when they expanded, but
Very few
almost
people.
almost everyone's hooked up. On Mattingly? West,
What, west of 90, or west of
it's
the bridge?
only on west of 303.
And I say that only because if you encourage,
West of.
then as a homeowner, hey, wait a second, there's a cost here.
Right.
You didn't tell me, and I fell for this encouraged. And now I want to keep my well, and
And
I
now you're
don't
not
agree
getting
with
my
this.
30 grand.
Right. So I think it's important that the public knows.
You still have.
Sometimes
That's a
there's
deep
a little
price
bit more,
tag.
right?
But I think it's fine at consider, because again, it's not saying, yeah, your name.
So before we move on, CS 2.1, can we make it consider water and sewer? Put water first.
Oh, this one here.
Yes, put water first.
Gotcha.
Now they're more parallel.
I agree.
And I'm ready to move on.
Just one other thing before we
Okay.
move on is just just to note, we took out the sewer about 2.2. Do we want anything on lots where we already have existing small lots that might have septic problems in the future?
So why can't, so you have two kinds of septic systems. You have aerators and you have leach fields. Why can't you, leach field takes a lot more land. Why can't you go to an aerator, which takes a very short leach field?
I know very little about septic. All that I know is that when I had the property that I sold off, they had to have two. And there was the ground tested nowhere else but on the very back of the property for septic. And so they were able to move the alternate, because the alternate was on a portion that I wanted to keep. They were able to move it within the crescent mound within the crescent mound, the mounded system that I had now as a secondary. But there was nowhere else on that entire piece of property, 2 acres, that tested for even a primary septic site, and that's on 2 acres.
An aerator septic system.
No, that was.
No septic. There was no land available for septic.
So
Do we need to comment on that? Within the comprehensive plan?
I think what we're looking at here is we're trying to put our heads around something that you need to have a degree to truly understand. Simultaneously, we're trying to put limits or guidelines to a county function.
Which is not gonna be.
So ultimately, what we're saying here is considering additional water and sewer. We're telling the county, hey, if you guys want to do this, let's have a powwow. If someone requests that we go to the county and run something, let's talk about it. But really, this is more than anything a county function.
Agreed.
So your point is, are you okay, or do you want to change that?
I don't think we need to belabor this too much longer because there's very little input we will have in the long run.
Okay. Anybody want to stay on this? And if we go to the next one, that one's easy. That's community service.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Mhm.
That one, the whole thing comes out and goes to community service.
Do we want to address it?
And you could leave it.
No, we'll just move it over to community service, or we'll bring it up when we do community service.
Cut and
That's a
paste.
good way of getting through this.
The next one, I believe, only deals with storm sewers. And I don't think we have storm sewers anywhere.
Disagree.
We have ditches.
We have them. We have storm sewers.
Where, up
Arborcrest.
West 130th.
Well, I'm off.
So where does the water go?
I have no idea. But I know we have, I've got,
We had them all still
How can they get it to-
there's a
How
retention
can they get
pond.
it to the Rocky River? That's not a storm sewer,
We have, they're labeled storm sewers and I've got 4.
different from a sanitary sewer.
This is strictly water runoff. I have septic and
Right, and your water runoff goes to a retention or detention pond. So that's the incorrect use for the term storm sewer, but that's okay. But this particular objective is talking about storm sewers that are dedicated going towards Lake Erie. And somebody maybe needs to go.
Was this something that was a problem back in 2015?
No, I think we got pushed into this by OHM. It appeared in the 2015 plan. OHM put it in here, but it doesn't apply to us. We don't have dedicated storm sewers that go towards Lake Erie.
But neither of the action items have anything to do with storm sewers.
Pardon?
Neither of the action items have anything to do with storm sewers.
Well, the whole thing needs to go. It's poorly written.
Yeah, I mean, it's confusing, but even if we didn't have stormwater, and I don't know that we do or we don't, but I think it's just, we want to adopt the standards that were set by it. You know, that's what I think that this is at least trying to say, is we're going to adopt those recommendations. Even if we don't have to meet those requirements, we're adopting the recommendations set forth there.
Is that beginning to drill down on like a site development review that the county would do anyway for stormwater management, like in the case of development, if it was applicable even for us?
But that's where I'm getting with the action items. The action items are discourage the use of phosphorus fertilizers. That's just talking about fertilizers that you apply on your land.
You don't want phosphorus in Lake Erie.
You don't want phosphorus in rivers to dump anywhere.
Well, the rivers all go to a lake
So
or the ocean.
right, and you don't want phosphorus in
Right,
any of those. So
right.
that's all that's saying, is discourage the use of fertilizers because we don't want them in water runoff. The other one is promote the pervious pavement, you know, to reduce storm discharge. That applies anywhere. That doesn't apply
Right.
just to stormwater. So those 2 action items are just 2 action items that I suspect originally were in the plan. They're saying, let's adopt those just for Hinckley in general, and let's come up with these action items. It's worded really wonky, but I think that's all they're trying to do there.
So let's delete it,
Do we have?
because there's nothing we can do. We can't do anything to discourage.
You can
these.
educate.
Garrett had a comment.
I think when we were writing that, they were having problems with the salt over the winter time, getting into the rivers and polluting and having problems with too much salt going into the rivers from the stormwaters. I think there was something along that lines to discourage the winter runoff of the salt
But they don't
going
even say
to the rivers and lakes.
That doesn't even
But
say
it doesn't
anything about
even
salt.
say anything about salt in winter.
I think I do probably more at the
But
first.
it's the same concept though, I think.
Do we have any properties that run off into the metro parks?
Probably many, any ones that would be
Anybody
north
that's
of
uphill of it, yeah.
metro parks.
So
And we have many that run into the east lake,
I mean, all
river.
that.
Rocky
I know
River
that the metro parks have an issue with their lakes, ponds, whatever you would call them, when they've got a farm across the street that dumps into it and it turns into an algae pool. Right. Is that where this came from?
No, OHM pushed this on us to modernize this.
So look at CS5.
Stormwater velocity.
Is there maybe a combination of 4 and 5? Just talk about. The stormwater,
5.2 does
Runoff
not sound
generally.
terrible.
pardon?
5.2, I mean, you could
So-
just,
Not to be callous. How does this affect our community?
and our zoning.
Not all of this unfortunately is about. zoning.
No, it's not all about
A
zoning,
lot of it's not
But
about zoning.
do we have stormwater discharge that is creating problems within Hinckley?
We certainly do in the way of too much water is being dumped on other people.
My basement has stormwater discharge.
That part, certainly. Now, the fertilizer part, I don't know.
Has nothing to do with it. Yeah. The fertilizers have nothing to do with stormwater problems that may or may not exist within
This out.
the township.
But it is a concern potentially for people who are wells.
Much the
Have all
same
that
way,
fertilizer.
much the same way using pervious pavement would be if we're salting the roads and that's all going into the soil.
Right, but we can discourage the use of.
The soil can tolerate it.
What's that?
The soil can tolerate it, salt and phosphorus.
And we've also seen that we've encouraged the pervious pavements and no one's adopted it because of cost,
We're getting hung up on
specifically the schools.
I'm not opposed
We're
to
off
taking
the
it down.
subject talking about impervious pavement. I mean, we just put in a
Take
bunch of
what out?
concrete out here that's not impervious.
Uh,
Our trustees didn't
CS
follow it. Even our zoning commission, excuse me, as far as I remember, when the school came in and wanted to, they cut it, they took an agricultural lot where all the water went down into the soil.
Mhm.
They took that and made a basin and sent it all to we don't know if it was a retention or detention. And the zoning commission did not, they didn't ask them which it was.
Yes, yeah, I specifically remember asking,
And-
I was
Okay.
there. I
All right.
specifically remember asking,
It was
is this a
detention.
retention or a detention?
Right.
It was a detention because then I told them, oh, okay, well, hey, could we put a fence around this? Because I'm thinking an elementary school with a bunch of little kids and now we're gonna have a 3-foot, 4-foot pond for a couple days. Can we put a fence around that? President of the school board said yes, and there's no fence around it. I very clearly remember that meeting.
That's true. You asked the question, but they couldn't give you an answer. But right on the drawing was the drain,
Yes,
the overflow drain.
yes.
And now it's causing problems downhill in River Woods.
Mhm.
But anyway,
But there's nothing that we could do about
Right.
it. We actually.
but what I'm talking about
encouraged
is the
them to put in-
impervious pavement.
We encouraged them to put in pervious pavement, but it was too costly, so they chose not to.
You did encourage them.
You specifically came and encouraged them. I remember that.
Right, but zoning didn't.
It's not in our code.
We could not make them do it.
Right.
We said, yeah, we told them, hey, if you can, consider this. And it was not in their budget, supposedly.
Not in our budget.
Okay, so let's get back.
All right, so CS4, what do we want to do with it?
Mix it.
Somebody want to nix it, show of hands.
Do we want anything on educate? That's my question here is I don't mind nixing it, but I'm just wondering, those to me look more like. And we've had that whole education section above, is this another education section?
I agree.
So that's.
So nix the objective, we keep the action items and find a place for them.
I don't know which one it is. I don't know if it's free write the objective. I don't know. All I'm looking at is we did educate above. These seem like educational items.
I like the actions. I don't like the objective. The objective doesn't apply. At least that's my personal opinion.
Stormwater
We
management.
have, no one's looked. it
Far
up,
more
so.
than just phosphorus
So
fertilizer.
how would you rewrite the objective?
I actually know about that one.
Would
I don't know.
it fit like,
So that the action items fit under.
You good stewards of the land.
what doesn't that fit? Couldn't those fit under when we're moving CS3? Which was encourage green services, could that tie in a little bit?
Not a service.
It's not a service, it's, you're right, okay.
Would we say this, and obviously it was in this plan, what was ever done to educate?
And who's going to educate?
And what
And
does that
we've
mean?
had, the zone commission certainly had, Western Reserve Land Conservancy come out and give
Okay.
talks about what they do. We've had
The
we've had the
township.
county come down and hold educational seminars. And they're generally speaking relatively lightly attended. But we certainly do these
Methods.
workshops and
Okay.
advertise.
The trustees held a good workshop on septic tanks and invited all the septic tank pumpers to come in and explain how important it is to pump. And what the cost will be if you have to replace it,
Fair
and
enough,
how hard it is on certain lots to replace it.
fair enough.
So we do have these educational seminars.
Okay.
We could have more if we keep that in.
Almost the end of the section.
Yes, 4 or 5 is it, and then we'll be done for the night, so. I'm not gonna let you guys go until we get a
That's,
consensus on 4 and 5.
no, I agree that 4.1, 4.2 can go under education and the objective can be removed.
We could do encourage education of the community on various topics of some, you know.
Or,
Yeah, but like a lot of it is phosphorus, you know, like stormwater, or that way we can kind of maybe make like a catch-all kind of idea bank for education versus.
There's a lot of stuff that could fall under that education.
Sure.
So
Stormwater, well and septic, like all of this could just be under one kind of general
when it's,
education,
Just
community
educating on
education.
stormwater management.
when tied to any development,
There you go.
How about that?
That's fine.
I'm not even trying to,
Educational,
I'm trying to,
management,
I'm actually, I wasn't trying to put
Okay,
any
but
words in it.
in
I'm
this
trying to say,
case, stormwater should be 2 words.
when tied to development, the developers
But
are
when it's one
already
word-
accommodating the 2017 plan. There is an entire industry called SWIP that every single one of them, when they put in a lot, when they have to do anything, the developer has to comply with it. The contractor has to comply with it. It's gonna happen whether we want to or not during the construction phase. The question comes, is there anything that we want to educate, promote, put into zoning as a permanence piece to any development? Because I promise you, the contractors are doing it when they're building it.
Mhm.
So we're already complying with it because we have nothing to do with the compliance or not. It is mandated. You must do it. OSHA checks it. SWIP checks it. It's entire government agencies. They have an entire cottage industry of putting in the silt fences and everything else. It's happening whether we want it or not. The question is about permanence, not necessarily anything like that. That for me, that's where this comes in. And maybe it's an education piece. Maybe it's a piece on zoning about creating some certain anything like that, but I think it's an education.
How about offer education on stormwater?
Cindy, can you go down just one line? That's in 5.3. If you go down a little bit. See 5.3?
Mhm.
Why the plus here?
That was,
Accidentally left there.
that was a PDF conversion.
Okay.
There, it's gone.
Thank you.
I liked it.
Little flare.
So you could take that out and move it up, right? And then the rest is
Make
what you're
that,
saying.
make that the objective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only the objective should be educate, not education. So to educate, educate public on stormwater. I don't know if you want management or runoff. I kind of like runoff better.
Yeah,
Educate.
Educate homeowners and home builders.
No, we're not.
Educate homeowners,
Residents.
residents on stormwater.
I like that.
Runoff.
And then can you eliminate 5.1 and 2?
Runoff,
That's what you're saying?
is that what you want? Impacts? No?
Sure.
On
Yes.
impacts of stormwater runoff.
Stormwater impacts.
There you go. On impacts
Impacts of-
of stormwater runoff.
Since we're with
Impacts.
Medina County and the current zoning code, do you guys get into that building plans or is that Medina County that's approving that?
Yeah, make it so.
Yeah.
Well, that's all right.
You gotta go.
We have code about wetlands.
So are we good with IN point
Yeah.
But
three?
the county has to, the developer.
Is it in IN or is it
plan?
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
the
an
infrastructure.
Right.
So am I getting rid
Exactly.
of
It's approved by the
5.3?
county.
I think they're moving
They have
it
things
up.
they have to do while they're under construction. They have things they have to do.
I'm moving it
permanent
up.
Community
after.
services, not a service.
I think that's-
Okay,
The
what
way you
about
just were.
everybody?
Let's just do this.
What am I doing with-
Yep.
They stay.
Sure.
Exactly.
That's what the education is.
That's why that permitting takes so long to get all those things off the ground.
What is that?
Playing games.
Music.
Yeah. And then I don't think it's discourage or promote. It's almost just, again, it's educate on the use and educate on the use of pervious pavement.
Sure.
None of those
Discourage
should be
versus promote.
discouraging or promoting.
The only time you need phosphorus is when you're trying to germinate seed. But to keep a plant growing is when you need phosphorus. I'm sorry, wait. The only time you need phosphorus is when you're trying to get seeds like a lawn to sprout. You don't need phosphorus to make your lawn or your trees green. So I'm still with discourage.
I'm just saying we're under an education program. So under education, you're just informing people.
I'm used to it at summertime.
All right. Are we good now with 3?
I'd still change 3.1 from discourage to educate.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. Yeah, I get
And we're not, is 5 totally gone, right? Or not?
Well, no,
I think
You
five's
want
No.
to keep that?
CS.5.
Educate what, on
We
the
haven't-
impact of the
Educate
use?
on, yeah.
The impacts, I think.
On the
Impact of
impact
use.
yes. Educate on the impact
Oh,
of. Oh, that was still fine.
educate on the impact of.
Of use.
Oh, on the. impact. Use. Okay, now is 3 good?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So,
Just say the impact of using
thank you.
phosphorus
yeah,
fertilizer.
because I don't like the of
I didn't even. It's getting late.
using, yeah.
Doctor.
All right. 0.5, anything there left?
Well, what is it, Jeff, that you were alluding to? This is already done.
Yeah.
Mandated.
Man,
So why do we have to work with anybody? It's already done, right?
it's implying that the work isn't being done properly, which is not something that's necessarily in our control in the first place. If Medina County doesn't enforce the correct stuff or like you said, up to the EPA or county engineer, depending on which governmental agency.
Is this an?
Yeah, because I mean, anything new they put in, what they do, the stormwater runoff, they
Do everything.
An OHN thing.
Army Corps of Engineers
Well,
going.
the core and then,
Medina County
we
does
can,
have
as
stormwater.
the zoning commission, we can request a downstream
Which you did recently, and then.
study, but I mean, as long as it is a dramatic impact. Yeah, and yeah, we've done that and.
I don't think there's anything wrong with objective 5. I also don't know that there's anything beneficial about objective 5. If you want to take it out, fine. If you want to leave it on, seems reasonable too.
If we can
It's one of those things that's just.
continue to simplify it and get rid of some of that stuff, it'll be a lot easier to follow it because it doesn't have a lot of this fluff. Thank you.
I mean,
That was a nicer word than I was thinking.
It just seems to be, it's part of our process anyway today.
As outlined where?
So we have wetland protection, right? But a lot of this is done by the county.
Yeah, it's done by the county, that's what I'm saying, it's just, it's already part of the
It's already
process.
part of
for
the process
development.
by the county.
So, I mean, we have to work with Medina County.
Right. That's, I think
That's
you
why
can
it's
take it all out.
restating the obvious, so it's almost.
So just scrap it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Going from 85 pages, we'll get down to about 40.
Not a bad thing.
So far, I think we've only gotten through about 4.
Yeah, but remember, forget about the pictures on.
Yeah, right. There's about half of that is pictures and
Pictures
big
and
block
charts
letters and
and-
stuff, so.
All right, so next time we can pick up with the mobility bowl and look at the
Community services.
community services. And,
Would now possibly be a decent time to make a comment of the survey question for the water portion or?
Briefly, go ahead.
Yeah, so.
We're supposed to be finishing.
It's just, yeah, so.
Should we
it'll-
be starting
it'll
the
be
race?
All I want to say is that, right, when you look through the CS section, it discusses 2 points. It says by the default, the limited presence of sanitary sewer network now and in the future will control how the township will grow. And the limited water network has worked to control growth in some areas of the township and maintain the rural character of the area. When we craft the question for the survey about water, I think context is important. And I think with as many times as open space and green space and rural and all that other stuff has been listed in these comprehensive plans, that the individual answering the question has to understand that you can't necessarily have both. You can't have a ton of expanded water and keep your rural feel and keep your open space. So I think context is going to be, and how we craft that question is going to be one of the more important things that are.
Why do you say that?
Because of the meeting that we were at last year, where I came back and said that there are definite designs because they were specifically pushing to have more development on water lines. But because that will reduce the bills, but it will give more revenue to the county.
But lot size has absolutely no relationship to water. None. There's no regulation on how much water a person can pull. There's no regulation on anything to do.
Absolutely, but they at the county
The
were
sewer
pushing us to have more development on water lines. That's how they presented it to all of the townships in the county. We've got it on recording.
And it says specific, again, at least 2 times throughout the comprehensive plan, and definitely in the CS section. The limited water network has worked to control growth in some areas of the township and maintain the rural character of the area.
But I'm just wondering how you're achieving that.
How?
Correct. How is the access to water achieving that limited growth? It's the sewer that's achieving that limited growth as far as I can tell, because that's the limit on the size of lots.
Except for when you consider the county is pushing for more development on water lines.
The county would be pushing then for more development on water lines for services that are like where you have a multi-density, high-density volume. But if we have 2-acre lot sizes, then no matter what you do, you can't push for more development. The 2-acre minimum is what's setting off of the development size.
Aren't there on-site ways to get rid of the septic now to deal with that? Over the last 10 years, aren't there, as far as what I remember from last time and talking.
I could not subdivide my lot until I had a backup, primary and a backup site. And we got very lucky that they were able to craft it because there was a new change to a septic that would have fit that within the crescent moon. And that was just 2 years ago.
So while we did the update, afterwards, it was such a bone of contention during that update that Paul O'Neill was a big part of that process. And Paul's a pretty smart guy. Paul got himself water over to his house. But, you know, he was kind of explaining some of the new technologies that do provide some form of on-site septic that wouldn't necessarily take the same amount of space.
And actually, my question as far as the septic requirements, are they driven by the state or are they driven by the county level?
I think they're driven by the EPA. Federal.
So the EPA is
They're gonna set
telling
the
us
parts
that
per
we
million
have to have a
standards.
backup septic location. And you're saying that they just improved septics so that you found a secondary location on your existing 2 acres because they improved the technology.
Right.
So as they improve the technology more and more and more and more,
The lot sizes can shrink, but it's because of
Correct.
septic, not because of water. I can put a 1/4 acre lot and I can still put a well in. There's no limitations on that. There are
100%,
limitations
100%.
only
All right,
on the
I'm gonna have-
septic.
let's do a pause here. Next meeting is August 20th. We're gonna continue, September, I don't have anything scheduled, and September is kind of a bad month for this date and time.
November. Third Thursday of November is Thanksgiving.
It's Wednesday.
Well, we're on
Yeah,
Wednesdays,
it's
but
the day
that
before,
week.
yeah.
So, I wanted you to contemplate September, we can talk about this at the next meeting, perhaps meeting on the 25th of September instead of instead of 17th.
I will be absent.
All right, we'll talk about it next meeting. We'll set the meetings dates at the next meeting.
Like,
Quick question, do you want us to start talking to people yet? You want to hold off for
Well,
the long?
I briefly wanted to say, I would think it might be a good idea if you can work in pairs. And the kind of pairs I'm thinking about is each of you pair up with somebody. So if you live in a development with an HOA and you live on a main road, the 2 of you go out together because you have 2 different perspectives. So that we're working with pairs, you ask questions, you have different perspective. If we can do that and then start going out and meeting with people, that would be fine.
Shouldn't we have some common set of questions?
Yeah, we could.
Yeah, I just wonder how out of this we're getting objective,
You wonder what?
how we're getting objective data,
How we're getting what?
some sort of objective data. I don't disagree
Data
with
that
the
is
community
objective.
involvement, but
Okay.
something that's objective.
All right, let's end the meeting. Can I get a motion of
Make a motion to end the meeting?
Second.
Jim and John? All in favor?
John, the septic is what's controlling what allows us to have 2 acre lots. I'm all right.